Welcome back to the B&B Spoilers channel. Today, we delve into one of the most intense and emotionally fraught chapters in recent memory on The Bold and the Beautiful. Over the last several episodes, Brooke Logan's life has veered dangerously off course, shaped by the dual pressures of personal heartbreak and professional strain. What had seemed to be a mere issue of business politics at Forrester Creations soon turns into a life-or-death crisis, revealing how fragile even the strongest among us can be when responsibilities, regrets, and unresolved passions converge in the worst possible way. For months now, Brooke has struggled to maintain her composure under a crushing array of burdens. On the corporate front, she reluctantly took on the role of CEO at Forrester Creations after Carter wrested control from the Forrester family in a cunning power play. Although occupying such a powerful position might be the envy of many in the fashion world, it has never quite sat right with her. Privately, she remains convinced that Forrester Creations belongs in the hands of its founding family. Yet she knows that any move to restore their authority must be handled with caution, lest she antagonize Carter or jeopardize the precarious peace under which the company is currently operating. Every day, she feels the weight of decisions that affect not just her own future, but also that of those who once trusted her implicitly. Compounding these business worries is Brooke's volatile relationship with Ridge Forrester, a long and complicated saga that has flared and faded countless times over the years. Recently, tensions between them have escalated to a near breaking point. Though they once stood side by side, obstacles continuously arise to threaten their bond. Brooke's fear has grown sharper with the return of Taylor Hayes, whose history with Ridge predates many of the more recent alliances and quarrels. As Taylor re-entered Ridge's life, he seemed increasingly drawn to her, and Brooke found herself in a painful position, watching the man she loves lean on an old flame for solace, while she tried desperately to keep her own life in one piece. This twofold stress, corporate uncertainty and the potential loss of Ridge, took its toll. Although a typically strong individual, Brooke began showing signs of strain that few around her recognized for what they truly were. At first, it manifested as irritability, moments of spacing out, and sudden waves of fatigue that she dismissed as ordinary stress. But the truth was far more serious than anyone imagined. One fateful afternoon, while immersed in work at Forrester Creations, Brooke collapsed without warning. The incident sent shockwaves through the building. Hope, who has always been devoted to her mother's well-being, was among the first to respond, followed closely by Carter, who also recognized that the stakes in this situation extended well beyond the corporate battles that had preoccupied everyone. In the frantic minutes that followed, paramedics rushed to transport Brooke to the hospital. Tests were conducted to ascertain why a woman of her resilience would suddenly crumble under stress. The initial hypothesis centered on exhaustion, or perhaps an untreated anxiety condition. The final diagnosis, though, was far more alarming. Brooke had a brain tumor that urgently required surgery. Doctors told Hope and Carter that the operation needed to happen as soon as possible to minimize the risk of permanent damage or worse. The revelation rattled everyone at Forrester Creations, from loyal staffers to those who once held grudges. Even Bill Spencer, typically an outsider to Forrester affairs, reportedly reached out to check on Brooke's condition. In that moment, all the feuds and power struggles paled in significance, replaced by an anxious unity in hoping she would survive. The real impact of these events, however, landed most dramatically on Ridge. At the very moment Finn rang with the hospital update, Ridge was entangled in bed with Taylor. He had sought her out after yet another bitter argument with Brooke, a fight that left him feeling misunderstood and unloved. Taylor, who always harbored feelings for Ridge, believed she might finally get her chance at happiness. For a fleeting instant, it seemed possible that the two of them would rebuild their long-dormant love. Yet the phone call shattered this fragile scenario. The moment Ridge heard the words Brooke and surgery, any illusions he maintained about moving on vanished. Without hesitation, he sprang from bed, hastily pulled on his clothes, and prepared to leave. Taylor watched in dismay, a painful clarity dawning in her mind. Her presence in Ridge's life, the illusions of renewed romance, all paled beside Brooke's sudden crisis. Before Taylor could even attempt to calm him or demand an explanation, Ridge was gone, consumed by a singular purpose: he had to get to Brooke. Perhaps, had he possessed more self-awareness, he would have realized this immediate, desperate concern had roots in a love he had never truly abandoned. But in the heat of crisis, self-reflection was secondary. The only thought that occupied him was that Brooke might be facing her final moments, and that he could not stand the possibility of never seeing her again, never telling her how he truly felt. Taylor, left behind in that quiet room, experienced a revelation of her own. She was no stranger to heartbreak, having lived through countless ups and downs with Ridge before. Yet this moment cut deeper than previous rejections, because it confirmed that in a crisis, Ridge would always choose Brooke. Taylor had spent weeks nurturing the possibility that Ridge's disenchantment with Brooke might lead him permanently back to her side. Yet the phone call and his ensuing reaction laid bare a stark truth. His heart, no matter how bruised or confused, belonged to Brooke in a way that overshadowed every promise or comfort Taylor could offer. Crushed but resolved to maintain her dignity, Taylor decided she had to remove herself from this love triangle once and for all. Gathering what she could, she made plans to leave Los Angeles and seek a new life in a place devoid of forced or entanglements. Meanwhile, Ridge fought his own battle as he tried to rush to the hospital. Fate conspired to delay him further, trapping him in traffic that seemed endless and uncaring of the urgency in his heart. Every unmoving vehicle reminded him of how helpless he was in that moment, increasing his desperation. The phone updates he managed to receive were minimal, offering no clear assurance that Brooke would be fine. She was, after all, about to undergo brain surgery, a procedure fraught with risk, particularly given how suddenly the diagnosis came to light. Ridge's mind churned with regrets, recalling every instance where he might have said cruel words or acted dismissively toward Brooke. The specter of losing her filled him with guilt and forced him to confront the truth he had been denying. By the time Ridge finally arrived at the hospital, the surgical procedure had already begun. Nurses prevented him from barging into the operating suite, and he could do little but wait and pace the corridors. Gripped by remorse, he thought back to all the times he had pushed Brooke away, belittled her contributions, or insinuated that she was a hindrance rather than a partner. He remembered the fleeting illusions of running off with Taylor, illusions that evaporated the instant he realized Brooke's life was in jeopardy. This forced him to acknowledge the undeniable hold Brooke had on his heart. He wondered if she would ever hear him say that he was sorry, or that he loved her in a way he had perhaps never expressed fully or clearly. In another part of the hospital, Hope kept vigil, silently worried for her mother's life. Carter, though not personally in love with Brooke, still felt the weight of his own regrets. He had seen her under intense stress but had not realized how severe her health problems might be. Both recognized the gravity of the situation, knowing that the surgery was a delicate operation that might determine whether Brooke ever returned to Forrester Creations, or indeed, to her family and friends. Meanwhile, the hospital staff worked with methodical focus, aware that this was no routine procedure. Any miscalculation could cost Brooke her life. As the hours passed, word reached the rest of the Forrester clan. Even those who had once sided with Taylor or believed Brooke had overstepped her bounds came to understand that their disagreements paled in comparison to the fragility of life. In the waiting room, Ridge finally found a seat, though he was unable to remain still for long. Each time a medical professional emerged, he stood, desperate to glean any morsel of information about the surgery's progress. Yet, standard hospital protocol mandated that no news be delivered until the doctors could confirm a prognosis. So Ridge waited, torn between hope and dread, every passing moment an eternity. Throughout these tense hours, Ridge's introspection deepened. He silently vowed that if Brooke emerged from the operating room safe, he would make amends. He would show her the respect she had always deserved, acknowledge the support she had offered him countless times, and never again presume she would simply wait for him if he wandered off to nurse his grievances or chase old ghosts. He realized how he had let pride and impulsiveness guide him, leading him to hurt Brooke even when she strove to act in his best interest. Most of all, he understood that the battle over Forrester creations, a matter that once consumed him, was trivial in the face of life and death. Meanwhile, Taylor embarked on her quiet exit from Los Angeles. She had chosen not to confront Ridge again or disrupt the crisis with Brooke. Instead, she left a brief message that she was leaving and needed space to heal from all the pain. She had come back hoping to find a redeemed chapter of her story with Ridge, but the current ordeal stripped away that hope, leaving her no room to cling to illusions. Somewhere on the road, or possibly in the silence of a new city, Taylor attempted to make peace with the knowledge that her love for Ridge could not compete with the bond he shared with Brooke. The sense of heartbreak merged with a surprisingly calm resolution: she would no longer fight for a man who could never fully be hers. As viewers of The Bold and the Beautiful keenly observe, the show's characters are woven together by threads of love, rivalry, and shared history that stretch back for decades. This particular storyline highlights the fragility of life and the suddenness with which long-standing feuds can seem irrelevant when health hangs in the balance. The tribulations of Forrester creations, the leadership battles, the question of who should truly own the company, none of that matters if Brooke does not survive the operation. Ridge's turmoil encapsulates the dilemma of someone who let petty conflicts overshadow the deeper connections that define who he is and whom he loves. By the time the surgery concludes, the doctor steps out, poised to deliver the news that will shape many futures. Has the procedure gone well enough for Brooke to have a strong chance of recovery, or has the tumor inflicted irreparable damage? Ridge braces himself for whatever verdict awaits, his heart beating like a war drum. The threshold moment arrives where he will learn if he has a chance to start anew with Brooke, apologize for his failings, and restore their bond with renewed sincerity. Or he may have to grapple with the unimaginable. A life devoid of the woman who, for all their ups and downs, has always been a cornerstone of his existence. In the final moments of this cliffhanger, Ridge, Carter, and Hope join forces in prayer or silent pleading that Brooke emerges from this trial unscathed. Whichever path destiny takes, the implications are monumental. A miraculous recovery could pave the way for a deeper reconciliation, forging a love stronger than the conflicts that once tore them apart. A tragic outcome could fracture the Forrester-Logan circle beyond repair, shattering Ridge with guilt and leaving many to question what might have been if they had recognized the seriousness of Brooke's condition earlier. Taylor's absence looms as another emotional thread, since her departure underscores that no matter how entangled these relationships might be, heartbreak can drive people to sever ties and look for solace elsewhere. As always, The Bold and the Beautiful expertly weaves these emotional arcs against the backdrop of a high-stakes fashion empire, ensuring that personal drama merges seamlessly with professional ambitions and feuds. The question remains: can Brooke make it through the aftermath of the surgery, reclaim her life, and perhaps join forces with Ridge to restore Forrester creations to the rightful owners? Or is her story at risk of ending abruptly, leaving the show's beloved characters to pick up the pieces in her absence? Only time and the next episodes will reveal how this heartrending storyline unfolds. For now, fans are left to reflect on how quickly life can shift, how easily resentments can fade when health and survival come into focus, and how old alliances can be both broken and reforged in the wake of adversity. One thing is certain, Brooke's fate, Ridge's conscience, and Taylor's search for peace will continue to capture the imagination of viewers who have followed these characters through triumphs and tragedies alike. Stay tuned to the B&B Spoilers channel for the latest updates as the final verdict on Brooke's health emerges, Ridge's determination is tested, and the vacuum left by Taylor's departure reshapes the emotional landscape of Forrester Creations. In the multifaceted world of the bold and the beautiful, love endures, hearts may heal, and even the most hopeless scenarios can open doors to fresh beginnings, provided that each character is brave enough to embrace what truly matters. Will Brooke awaken to find Ridge by her side, ready to pledge a devotion he has never fully offered before? And will Taylor's departure be permanent, or might she return one day, drawn by unresolved feelings and the unpredictable tides of fate? Keep watching to find out. Next, we will learn about the compelling journey of Dr. Taylor Hayes and why it's high time for her to reclaim her power and leave Ridge Forrester's love triangle for good. Get ready as we unpack the drama, history, and potential future for one of the bold and the beautiful's most iconic characters. Taylor's new beginning, a path without Ridge. It's 2025, and if there's one message Taylor Hayes needs to hear, it's this: you don't need Ridge Forrester. Not now, not ever. The time has come for Taylor to take charge of her love life and step out of Ridge's shadow once and for all. She deserves a partner who prioritizes her, not someone who keeps her hanging in the balance of indecision. Ridge's loyalty has wavered far too many times, and it's clear that Taylor has always been more of a placeholder in his eyes, a fallback option when things with Brooke Logan fall apart. Taylor's brilliance, charm, and independence make her a catch, and she doesn't need to settle for a man who has repeatedly failed to show her the respect and devotion she deserves. It's time for Taylor to flip the script, put herself first, and embrace a new chapter full of self-love, professional triumphs, and perhaps a fresh romance that matches her energy. Lessons from Steffi, breaking the cycle. If Taylor needs inspiration for moving on, she doesn't need to look far. Her daughter, Steffi Forrester, has set a remarkable example by walking away from Liam Spencer and the emotional roller coaster that defined their relationship for years. Steffi has shown immense growth by prioritizing her happiness and building a life where her worth isn't defined by a man's wavering commitment. Taylor should follow suit. Watching her daughter thrive in a drama-free relationship could be the catalyst Taylor needs to break free from Ridge's exhausting love triangle. Steffi has proven that cutting ties with toxic dynamics isn't just empowering, it's liberating. Taylor has all the tools to do the same, and it's about time she used them. The endless triangle: why Taylor deserves better. Let's face it, Taylor Hayes has been caught in one of soap opera's most iconic yet exhausting love triangles for far too long. For decades, she has played second fiddle to Brooke in Ridge's life, enduring heartbreak after heartbreak as he inevitably chooses Brooke time and time again. While their love story might seem epic on the surface, it's anything but fair to Taylor. Taylor has sacrificed her dignity and peace of mind more times than we can count, and for what? A man who can't decide where his heart truly lies. It's time for Taylor to demand more from her relationships and herself. She's not a consolation prize, nor should she allow herself to be treated as one. A decade of drama, Taylor and Ridge's rocky road. Taylor and Ridge's history is nothing short of legendary, filled with fiery passion, devastating betrayals, and countless near reunions. From their whirlwind romance to their tumultuous breakups, these two have shared some of the most dramatic moments in the bold and the beautiful's history. Yet, despite their undeniable chemistry, their relationship has always been plagued by Ridge's inability to commit fully. Ridge's constant flip-flopping between Taylor and Brooke has left a trail of emotional wreckage, with Taylor often bearing the brunt of his indecision. While Taylor's love for Ridge is undeniable, it's clear that their relationship is more toxic than fulfilling. The time has come for her to recognize this pattern and put an end to it once and for all. Taylor's future, finding true love and happiness. The possibilities for Taylor's future are endless, and they don't involve Ridge. Imagine Taylor finding a partner who values her for the incredible woman she is, someone who sees her as a priority, not an option. Whether it's a fellow professional who shares her passion for psychiatry or a charming newcomer who sweeps her off her feet, Taylor's next chapter should be about finding a love that's equal and unwavering. Beyond romance, Taylor has so much more to focus on. Her career as a psychiatrist offers endless opportunities for personal fulfillment and professional success. She can dedicate herself to her practice, become a mentor to young therapists, or even embark on philanthropic endeavors. The world is Taylor's oyster, and Ridge doesn't need to be part of it. A final farewell to Ridge, closing the chapter. It's time for Taylor to close the door on Ridge Forrester and never look back. While their history will always be a part of her story, it doesn't have to define her future. Taylor has spent too long chasing a love that's proven to be unreliable, and she deserves so much more. By walking away from Ridge, Taylor can finally reclaim her power and focus on herself. It's a bold move, but one that's long overdue. Here's to a future where Taylor Hayes thrives, on her terms, with or without a man by her side. Thank you for joining us today as we explore the roller coaster journey of Dr. Taylor Hayes. Do you think Taylor will finally let go of Ridge and embrace a brighter future? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to tune in for the next dramatic episode of The Bold and the Beautiful.